Welcome to another Indie Dev Showcase, highlighting the many indie games we play here on the channel. If you'd like to submit a game for a future video, please reach out. But otherwise, let's begin. We are starting off our showcase this week with Blow and Fly, another kind of a short form indie game. In this one, we play as a blowfish who is going to do their best getting over it impression. Our key mechanic here is that you can roll and use your, enhanced lungs to launch yourself in the opposite direction of wherever your mouth is, hence the blowing and flying. And your job is to get from beginning to end in each level, under the caveat that you get a kind of bonus reward for getting through the level with as few blows as possible. And when your character is change color like that, you cannot blow. So there's definitely some advanced tech in terms of how you can properly set yourself up and even do combinations where you'll shoot in one direction and then launch in another one. All in all, this is one of those games where you're going to know very quickly whether or not it is good for you. And I thought it was okay. The getting over it style does have a limited appeal to someone like me, but if you're looking for a very short form game with a pretty good mechanic to it, I would at least give Blow and Fly a check. Now up we turn to HunterX. This is a Metroidvania in kind of the Eiyuden vein, where it is up to us to explore a world full of monsters and demons, hack/upgrade our way to victory. So the game itself boasts a lot of collectibles, lots of skills to unlock, and of course exploring to find more powers, gear, and so on. We played a decent amount of this on stream back in 2022. And as I said, the main thing about HunterX is that it is a tried and true example of Metroidvania design. Each area is massive, full of a lot of things to collect, areas to return to with new powers, and so on. There are of course boss fights, enemies, and all that other good stuff to stand in your way. All in all, this is an example of one of those games that it doesn't quite do anything I would say is standing out from the rest of the genre, but is a competent example of it. And I would suggest that if you are someone who really likes Metroidvania design and looking for a very action-focused take, I would give this one a check. If you are looking for an original or one that is more platforming or movement tech variety, HunterX may not be the best game for you. We now have Elyuden Chronicle Rising. Hopefully I didn't butcher that too badly. Now this is a little bit confusing. This game is the prequel title to a more JRPG Suikoden inspired game called Eiyuden Chronicle 100 Heroes. And I'm not sure where this game kind of fits in their overall branding. But this is more or less an action RPG. You play as a team of various people who have come to this town looking for fame, treasure, and mystery. And of course, you're going to find that and more as you explore. The game itself is kind of designed around performing different tasks in the city itself. Every shop, every major person will have a quest that will involve you going into the various dungeons, collecting various gears, harvesting resources, or making progress in order to move their quest line along. As you do this, the town will become upgraded, which will unlock more services, more power, gear, upgrades, and that kind of thing. The general play of this one is, I would say, on the easier side. This is by no means going to be a hardcore, Souls-like style game. You can swap between characters, and there's a decent amount of charm to this one. I like the aesthetic of kind of the look of it. All in all, this is one of those games that I played for quite a bit on stream, but ultimately the kind of running back and forth between the town and the missions started to get a little bit tiresome for me. I always like games where you can see the progress in the town and how that relates to what you're doing out in the field. And if you're looking for another kind of charming action RPG, I would check this one out. I am curious about how the more JRPG inspired game is going to do when it is released in 2023. Well, with that said, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we have 3 more games to look at. If you're interested in my thoughts on design, then be sure to check out my game design books. For entry-level students, we have 20 essential games to study, and then the Game Design Deep Dive series that takes an extensive look at different genres, with more coming soon. We now turn to Trepang 2. The footage that you are seeing is taken from the demo that we played in 2022, and may not represent either the current version of the game or the current version of the demo. And what this game is, very simply, is a fear-like. And when I say fear, I mean F-E-A-R, the very classic and famous first-person shooter, where you played as essentially a super soldier bullet time pro. This game has you doing something very similar. You are a super soldier with no memory. You are trapped in a black site with many advanced soldiers and people hunting you down. And you're going to use all your fancy powers, punches, kicks, and all that in order to save yourself and figure out what is happening. So, the game here is all about very challenging shootouts against enemies who are going to be a little bit more intelligent than your standard grunts. They will throw flares in order to light things up, they will search for your general location, and they're not just going to charge at you and hoping to hit you. Now, to aid you in this respect, you are given several powers beyond just being able to throw grenades and do melee. You have bullet time, which you can activate given you have enough meter for it, and you can also use a cloaking ability to let you sneak up on enemies and take them out either through a surprise attack or through stealth. So the footage that you're seeing right now is played, I believe, on the highest difficulty, and at this difficulty, these enemies hit very hard. This is again one of those titles where you can go from full to dead very quickly. Now, with that said, this would not, I think, be an example of push-forward combat. You're going to rely on finding health kits and armor upgrades or armor pieces in the map in order to refill your stock. But the gunplay is certainly on point here. It can be a little tricky to memorize all the different button combos, melee specials, and all that, but if you're someone who remembers the days of Fear and looking for another FPS where the enemies are going to challenge you and not just stand by while you shoot them, this should definitely be on your radar for the future. We now have Ad Wars. The footage you're seeing is taken from early access and may not represent the current version of the game. This is a game that kind of plays through all different kinds of genres. It is the future, and the entire world is under threat by the adpocalypse. Not the YouTube adpocalypse, but the end of the world adpocalypse. And in order to save us all from ads, we're going to have to explore the internet, play lots and lots of different genres, and try and use our powers to save us all. So the game itself is definitely leaning towards the satirical view of playing games within games within games. Each level and chapter will have you using a different genre, going from shmup to platforming to even more. Now, the game itself has you getting unlocks or upgrading your character by completing tasks, and there are multiple difficulties and challenges as well. This is one of those games where it's trying to be kind of a jack-of-all-trades, master-of-none approach. And I think that does kind of help in its favor. You're never really going to know what you're really getting into chapter by chapter, and the game is still being developed with more updates and more content being added as we speak. I think the thing that kind of hurt this game for me is that being a jack-of-all-trades means that not any one of its genre inspirations is really given like a whole lot of focus, or at least, again, like time to really iterate or elevate that design. And the kind of shotgun approach may or may not work for you. But once again, if you're looking for an indie game that is doing something very different, and you like a whole lot of game genres that you're going to be playing, then I would check out Ad Wars. For our last game of the showcase, this is Floppy Knights. The footage you're seeing is taken from 1.0 of the game, but it has been updated since then with more maps and content. This is a kind of strategy RPG in the vein of an Advance Wars or Fire Emblem, with the combination of a deck builder. How this works is that you'll create a deck out of various, Floppy Knights. Each deck will make use of cards that will either be units that you can summon to the field, cards that can be attached, or special attack cards for each character. Each deck has a commanding unit that is a character with the little crown next to their health bar, and that is your kind of captain or hero. If they get defeated, then you lose the map, and whoever is your captain will always spawn, or each turn will give you specific cards exclusive to it. Now, with that said, you'll be performing a variety of missions that will usually involve you defeating enemies, having to do things within a set number of turns, and more challenges. Now, this game can be on the challenging side, especially if you're trying to go for the bonus challenges that will reward you with more in-game currency to buy cards, upgrade cards, and even just new cards in general. The AI follows that same basic progress of is either programmed to go straight for the objective or wait until you are in range before it moves in for an attack. And you're going to have to figure out how to best use your various characters and their respective cards in order to win. So the main thing about this one is that it is a little bit on the harder side compared to some of the other tactical strategy or strategy RPGs we've played. You have to kind of really play to the cards that are in your deck, and more cards show up on each turn in order to make the most use out of it. And there were a few battles and situations that it just seemed like it was very hard, given the cards I had at the time, in order to complete all the objectives. But this is a very original take on the strategy RPG, and if you are someone who likes both genres, you like the kind of following the map and making perfect commands in order to fight enemies, as well as building a deck of a variety of strategies, cards, and abilities, Floppy Knights is certainly an interesting game to play. If you're looking for something that's on the more casual side, or I would say good for like a first timer, this game may be a little bit too advanced in that respect. But with that said, we're going to wrap things up for this week's showcase. I'd like to thank all the developers who submitted keys. You'll find links to all the games down below. If you'd like me to tailor your game for a future stream and video, please reach out. Do all the YouTubing, bell ringing stuff that people tell you to do. Visit our Discord and Patreon. And come back for daily discussions on game design here and on game wisdom, where you examine the art and science of games.